Everybody in the Southeast will remember April 27, 2011, but nowhere more than here in Holt, Alabama, where in a matter of just a few minutes, our lives were changed forever. First thing we had to do after the storm was make sure our people were okay. We had to get supplies to them like water, ice, tarps, and food. Friends of Hurricane Creek, located right on Holt-Peterson Road, were the perfect location for FEMA to set up a distribution point. We became a gathering place for people in the community who knew they could come here and get supplies or just sit back and relax. Once that was done, it was time to turn our attention toward the creek. The campground at Watson's Bend had been devastated. Not only were there hundreds of trees down across the creek causing a total obstruction, but debris that had blown in all the way from Tuscaloosa ranged from sheet metal to roofing to sides of mobile homes that completely littered the creek. All of this metal had to come out of the creek to make it safe before we could bring in volunteers. We figured out how to float the metal down the creek by tying two canoes together that were damaged in the storm, piling the metal on top, and then pushing it down the creek. At the end of the first day, we'd cleared about 100 yards of the stream and made it safe for the volunteers that would come in the next week. During the first week of the volunteer activity, Russell Freeman was able to clear about 1,000 feet of the creek's channel using church volunteers. The Holton Heights Nazarene Church sent about 50 kids along with a few adults in the first week. The adults ran the saws and set up activities for the kids on break. These kids worked really hard, but in the long run they had a fun experience that they'll take home with them and remember forever. All in all, about 50 kids came out and worked during that first week.
Hello.
How are you? Good.
They played, they worked, they had a good time while helping us get the creek cleaned out. The following week, we worked up on the bank for a while using a new portable wing and some Technora rope that had been donated to us from Buccaneer Rope Company.
Russell, what kind of rope is that?
Oh, this is the good rope. This is it's a Technora cord. It means it's super high heat. It's got I think it's a polyester jacket that isn't quite as high heat, but it's really strong. I think it's about 14,000 pound tensile strength. The 7/16 line, which is pretty amazing.
Where'd you get that rope?
Buccaneer Rope out of Scottsboro, Alabama. Donation. One I'm very, 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 very grateful for. Yeah, it's really standing up to the job here.
So you're using a portable winch to pull the logs up with Technora rope.
Yep. Donated
by Buccaneer.
That's right.
Using volunteer labor.
That's it.
How much taxpayer money have you spent today?
Well, I'd have to add up the numbers, but I bet I'd come up with a big fat round zero.
We were really fortunate that day to have two crews that came out. One was a SAW team from South Carolina. These guys came prepared, they were ready for business. They spent the whole morning cutting the big stuff out of the way so that we could concentrate on pulling brush and getting the campsite opened up again. The second crew that showed up that day, believe it or not, was a group of Air Force officers.
I'm from Washington State originally.
All of these volunteers came from Montgomery to help us clean up. Being a veteran enlisted man, I had a lot of fun giving these officers a hard time. But the truth is, they were a hardy lot, and they did a good job all day. Some folks just showed up off the road and volunteered to help. Then last weekend we really started to have fun when Russell and I put together a bunch of rigging to put this rope up there on that bluff. Yeah, that's me up there throwing a rope down. Now we had all the rigging in place on the donated rope from Buccaneer. We used the same small winch to tension up the line and pull the trees up out of the creek bottom. Within just a few minutes, we were literally flying trees. We had a few bugs in it at first, but every fit got a little bit smoother, a little easier to handle. Before long, we were lifting things out of the creek with no problem at all. Now, with the donation of a handful of rigging, we're able to lift even bigger pieces out, and we'll start next week flying all the scrap metal out of the creek that we've gathered from along the way. Since the whole campground is surrounded by bluffs like this, it shouldn't be a problem for us to get a line anywhere on the hill. We can then concentrate on doing a really thorough job of cleaning out the creek. Come on out and help us, or just watch the fun. All volunteers are welcome.
You pulling that all by yourself, Kenny? Look at that.
Cut them branches off, we can better off.
I think so.
With the enthusiastic volunteers we've been seeing and the donation of some better equipment, it won't be long before we'll have Hurricane Creek cleaned up enough to where it can be paddled again safely and enjoyed once again by the entire community. I'm John Watson, I'm your Hurricane Creek Keeper.